G'day and welcome back to the channel. We are continuing with our Fable5 generated team. I've taken our yesterday's performance and feedback back to AI, who has recommended 3 specific changes. So we have Focus Blast on Gengar, we have Rock Slide on Garchomp up from Stone Edge 80% accuracy, and we have Defog on Corviknight. So that's to combat the Aurora Veil Ninetales that we encountered a bit yesterday, but you watch today, we won't encounter a single one, which would be hilarious. Otherwise, updates on the website. We had some great feedback from Dorado about Stealth Rock and the HP interactions. So I did a full review of the generic calculator HP interactions. So we've got grassy terrain in terrain, we've got sandstorm in weather, and then we've got a few other bits and pieces, and they're all tested and working well. So have a go at them, and they'll give you some good breakpoints for abilities and moves as you go and build your Pokemon. We have our first opponent, who's got Gyarados, Hippowdon, Meowscarada. They've got Sizzle, Glamora, and Goldengo. So we could lead with Hippowdon, and that would give us a little bit of coverage. Then we're going to need maybe obviously Gengar. Try and sort out some of those. Our biggest one here is going to be Sizzle. We're not packing any fire, so it's going to be interesting how we navigate, because they've also got Gyarados, who I don't think we have a really strong cover for, especially given it's probably Mega Gyarados. We might be in a world of hurt here, but I'm expecting them to lead either Glamora or Hippowdon. Given we've got Hippowdon, I don't think they would go Glamora. We carry our 2-win streak from yesterday, which is good. They're leading Meowscarada, so they're covering for our Hippowdon lead. They could very well go for a Flower Trick here. And I don't see why they wouldn't. It's turn 1. If they do that, we can get the jump on them with Gengar, I think. Let's have a go. As I said, I'm expecting them to Flower Trick right now, which we've seen Gengar hits pretty well. So yeah, they do go for Flower Trick. And they are Protein. Take a bit of damage here, but they are now grass, and we'll take a bit of damage from the sand. We're going to Mega Evolve now, and the question is, do we Shadow Ball, or are they Choice Guard? We didn't really scout that out, unfortunately. I think we can survive another Flower Trick. They're going to withdraw. And we'll see Goldengo come out. So they're expecting us here to Focus Blast, but we've subbed that out for Focus Blast. So this should do big damage on Goldengo. And it Okos. So they're now down 1, but I'm expecting them now to swap back into the Meowscarada to potentially get Night Slash damage off. And I guess this is where we... yeah, okay. So, they're not at full. The question is whether they are Choice Scarfed or not. If they are, then they beat this, and they'll be locked into non-grass. So that might not be too bad. Okay, so they go for knockoff. And they are faster, so they are Choice Scarfed. So That was one way to find that out. But now they've likely got Scissor in the back. They are locked into Dark. They're likely going to go to Scissor next turn. We just got to watch out now. So, what do we do? I think we Garchomp while we can. And they're currently Dark, but if they swap into Sizzle or if they swap into Gyarados, we're in a world of trouble. But I have significant doubts that they went Gyarados, but let's see. Oh, they did go Gyarados. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, not what I had expected. It's obviously going to be Mega Gyarados, so they could very easily Mega Evolve here, but they could very easily not. So, how long have we got left in the sand? It's going to be good to get the sand up, although it just gives us a special defense boost, which, if they're Fizz, this is super annoying, actually. I was not expecting them to bring Gyarados. I don't know if Gengar would have done much better here, because both Meowscarada and the Gyarados, they didn't Mega Evolve, so they called out whether I would try and see that Mega Evolution and go for the Earthquake, because it'll lose the Flying type. They hung around. They're just gonna... They Ice Fanged us, so they could very easily Waterfall. But we are very defensive. They're going to Dragon Dance. That is okay with us because we have the Whirlwind. So we'll get our health back so that we can survive attack. I'm expecting them to Dragon Dance again because that just puts them in a good position. But I'm just tentative whether they are Mega Gyarados or they've brought no Mega into this. Which is super interesting. Because Gold Bengo went down pretty quick. And that was Meowscarada and Gyarados. So what was the strategy here, I wonder? So they are just going to straight up attack. We do live, so we'll be able to get our Waterfall off. Our Whirlwind. But Hippowdon's really not contributing much at this point, because obviously they'll Flower Trick now, which will KO us. Is that bad? I think we swap to Gyarados here. Oh, sorry, swap to Garchomp here, hoping they Flower Trick us. They could just as easily Triple Axle though, and that's obviously going to be the end of us, because Garchomp really... Okay, so even if we'd stayed in then, we would have got the jump on. Okay, so maybe we should have sacrificed our Hippowdon there. So yeah, we'll just live with that. Unfortunately, yeah, they understood that what we had on the back, so locking the Triple Axle was the right move for them, and we should have just stayed in and with it. So piloting error on my behalf will cost us our first game of the day. Well, luckily we've got time for loads more games. So you got to just keep trying to think a few turns ahead. It's not always easy. We have our next opponent. They are running Spiritomb. They've got Mega Staraptor. And that appears to be their only Mega. Then they've got Roserade, Infernape, Melodic, and Garchomp. So, given that, what is good to run here? We need an answer for the Melodic, because that's going to be super annoying. And we've been broken over a lot by Melodic in the past. So I actually think we lead Gengar here. on the off chance they leave melodic and they coil, we can start trying to disable them really early. Then we can run our Garchomp to cover their Garchomp for sure. We could run Primarina, but they do have Grass, Fire, Water. So if we get caught up in that, we'd be in big trouble. So I'm thinking maybe Corviknight. Yeah. I don't know about King Gambit here. Just because they've got the Infernape, and we don't really have a good coverage for Infernape, and they're probably bringing Infernape because we have Corviknight. So always got to think about that. And yes, they did indeed decide to leave melodic turn 1. So we will Shadow Ball, because I'm not expecting them to KO us initially. I'm expecting them to coil, which we can disable. Then they'll Hypnosis us. Hopefully they miss. That'd be nice. But it is all a gamble. And this Shadow Ball also could neg their special defense. But that critting is super helpful. And they just scold us. We live. We did, they got leftovers, so we did about 60, so we actually did about 40, so we weren't going to KO again. So if we're not going to KO again without a crit, let's disable the Scold, because they're locked in now, they can't switch out. So the best they can do now is recover, and I guess we can disable that. All because we've threatened disable, we don't need to disable it. That's the question. So they're not likely to lock into recover now, but they could lock into recover later. Do we disable it, or do we just go? I think we just go, because they're not likely to do it now. We can get 2 hits in, and see that's only doing 40. Oh, they've got Mirror Coat. Alright. I was not expecting that as the next move. Maybe we should have disabled then to cover Mirror Coat, but genuinely was not expecting Mirror Coat to even play a part in this at all. So I think our only course of action now is to try and do big damage, because we had a 50-50 choice. And we made the wrong one, so now we are just going to try and recover. Their Scold is locked out, they can Mirror Coat us, and they've got Recover, which they'll obviously Ice Beam us. Okay, so now we know the full moveset, but it's too late, we've lost everything. That is a very unique melodic. I was expecting Muddy Water Coil Hypnosis, I was completely wrong. And I don't know if we've got enough speed on Corviknight to be able to beat this melodic either, so no. And they'll recover now, so we'll get to see how much Body Press does. But I have doubts it's going to do too much. Question is, do we hang around? Or, Scold is now unlocked for them. So they are free to Scold us and try and burn, but they do not get it. And yeah, we're going to have to bulk up our defense so that we do more damage with Body Press, whilst we just sit and watch them recover. But we also have Roost, so it's Roost. So they'll do a bit of damage. If they get the burn on us, we'll call it at that. They'll have to Scold us at least 10 times for a good chance at burning us. So now we can get another Iron Defense up whilst they continue to Scold us. Okay for now. And then they're at 50. So, well, they beat a bit more now. 50. Let's body press. They've got speed control over us as well, so they'd be debating soon whether to recover or not. But they're just going to keep the pressure on the skull, because unless this KOs, we were going to lose anyway, but we do manage the KO. But I don't think we can do much with 5 hit points, so maybe we should have recovered there. But they've got Staraptor. Intimidate goes back onto them, so that's nice, but I don't think... I mean, Staraptor's just going to close combat, right? Which should do, at minimum, 5 damage. So, yeah, that turn 2, turn 3, we had a choice to recover, or sorry, disable a Shadow Ball, and we just picked the wrong one, unfortunately. And that was enough for them to KO. Yeah, it was a bit of an ask to have Corviknight solo their entire team. But yeah, the also off melodic build definitely threw me for 6. And that is the reason you look at the game statistics and you see what everyone is running. And if you run what everyone's running and you're like, I'm not having a good time, it's because everyone knows what movesets you've got. Which is why those scenarios, they'll win out because they've slightly adjusted their movesets to break people's, predictions on possibilities of what can occur in that turn. So there's a bit of insight for you before we get our next opponent, who is running Fable5 Rain. So they've got Pelipper and the Swampert. So in this scenario, we will lead with Gengar, and we'll have our Garchomp in the back. They've also got the Archeludon. So I'm thinking Hippowdon to try and fight them over the weather, because they could very easily lead Clefable, so having Gengar to cover off that early is good. Then, yeah, I mean, King Gambit could be good against the... Oh, they've already locked in. So they're keen to get this going with what they've selected. Question is what they've selected going to beat what we've got? Corviknight might actually be alright here. I think Corviknight's going to be a bit better. We're going to lose the weather. I don't really want to lose the weather. They've only got... Well, they've got 2. They've got Mega Clefable and Mega Swampert, likely. So if they go the Mega Swampert route, then having the Hippowdon is going to be good. But let's see what they decide to go. So they did go for weather. So typical turn 1 here is flip turn. So, and it makes sense because if we Shadow Ball, we'll just break the Pelipper's Focus Sash, likely. We will take quite a heavy flip turn, I guess, in the rain. Let's see. They could tail here. So we do pretty decent damage. They do actually Tailwind. That is super interesting, given they're already likely Swift Swim. So we'll get the KO here if we just KO. And then they've lost weather. So yeah, I'm expecting now Mega Swampert to come in to capitalise on the Swift Swim and Tailwind. But if we just buy a bit of time with our Hippowdon, but they've gone for Archeludon, which makes me think they might be Electro-Shotting. And they're going to be... Oh, they're only going to be Tailwind though. But let's just cover for Electro-Shot. We'll get rid of the rain. And yeah, I'm expecting that's what they decided to go. So they're locked in now for a turn or two. So this is not going well for them. They've lost their weather setter. What have they likely gotten back? I don't think it's worth stealth rocking. Because we get a free earthquake now, and their electroshock does no damage. So this isn't going to be overly threatening. But it is 52%. Did they get stamina out of that? Citrus berry. So they were sturdy, and the tailwinds petered out. They've lost rain. They're not in good shape. I don't know how they recuperate from here. Because they could, you know, they're locked out of electroshock now. They've got a +1 Archelidon, which is ideal if you want to stay in it. Maybe do some dragon pulsing. But if that's all they've got, they could swap out. But whatever they're swapping into is going to get earthquaked. They are having to think about how badly positioned they are currently, having just thrown away their pellet for turn 2. But they're going to go for it again, which is very confusing because that KOs them next turn. So we may be dealing with mobile. Who knows? We have lost a few games this morning, so we have dropped in ranking. But I didn't think anyone's going to be game enough to be electro-shotting in the sand. Power cheer. We might get our KO everyone without losing a Pokemon here. Which I thought is super hard to meet some of these weekly challenges as you climb the rank in Masterball. It's super hard to meet some of those weekly criteria. So yeah, I mean, we just weather ball here. Last Respects is okay damage, but we can earthquake. I mean, that does a ton of damage. We're not overly need the, or do we? Do we need the sand to do some chip? Let's cover. How do we cover? I don't think we can. If it's Choice Scarfed, Last Respects, which is I'm worried about, switching now is a bad idea. But if we don't switch, it's an even worse idea. Ooh. I am torn because I think they might sweep us here. Because they've got 6% left, but if we swap and it gets KO'd and it wasn't Choice Scarf, we lose. I think we're just going to have to eat this, unfortunately. Yeah, we'll Earthquake, but we obviously lose the Last Respects. The question is, does our Garchomp outspeed them? Because Garchomp's going to be our last vestige of hope. Because if it's Choice Scarf, we are not surviving the Last Respects on Gengar. So yeah, are we faster? That is the question. No, we are faster. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure if it was Choice Scarf or not. I assume it was. And our Gengar would have been okay. So, Garchomp pulling his weight in gold. Good game. Yeah, unfortunately they just let their Pelipper die turn 1, which is, you know, the whole reason they were electro-shotting with Archelidon. But they didn't bring any Megas either, which is a bit of a hindrance. Because if they'd brought Mega Swampert, they wouldn't have needed to Tailwind. They would have been able to do some pretty decent damage. But they would have been obviously just fighting us over the weather, but they just gave that up turn 1. We have our next opponent, and they are running Ninetales, so I am actually keen to see if our default tech actually comes in handy. They're running Garchomp, and they're running Corviknight, So we run our pretty standard 3 to cover for that. Just mindful that they've got Aegislash. So they've got quite a mix there, because they've got Corviknight and Hydreigon, which obviously avoids our Earthquake. We know that Gengar absolutely destroys Corviknight, which is why our Corviknight runs Shed Shell, because otherwise you just lose it. Yeah, I don't think King Gambit, Powden's going to be at a bit of a disadvantage. Primarina would do okay, especially considering they're likely running Mega Gyarados. So that's a potential switch into the team. Do we go with that? Actually, that's pretty solid, but we do lose our Choice Scarf, so I think we lock in. Corviknight covers a good majority of their potential leads. Let's see what they decided to lead with. As I said, I'm 90% expecting Ninetales here. Retro music. They've gone with Gyarados, so they've decided turn 1 Intimidate, which will get mirror coded back onto them, so they'll start at a -1, and we will bolster to +2. We can swap to Gengar or our Gyarados here, but we will bulk up because a -1 Gyarados against a +2 Corviknight's not great. If they Mega Evolve, that turns them dark and it allows us our Body Press to do more damage. Unless they're just gonna rock a normal Gyarados. And our Body Press isn't gonna be doing too much, but if they get away with it, we're not gonna be in a great position either. But we're at +2, not very effective, kind of converts that. I reckon one more and then we go for it. Because yeah, this Waterfall is not going to do much damage at all. So even if they get some Dragon Dances up, if we're at +4 or +6 defense, we've also got Roost. So I think long term we win this battle. But let's see what they decide to do. Because they could very easily swap out here. And they do. What are they going to go to? Hydreigon. So Body Press should actually be neutral range here. Or super effective. Super effective? Because of the dark typing. So they were hoping for a quick switch in there. And Hydreigon was going to be their flamethrower, I imagine, to defeat our Corviknight. But it didn't happen. So they Dragon Danced, swapped, and forfeited. So yeah, quite an interaction. A bit of a short battle. So we will continue on. Yeah, they had a few different ways they were going to go with that, but it never eventuated into anything. So getting a free OHKO on turn 2 or 3 is not a great start. So we're on our next opponent now, and boy gee, have we got a battle in store. So we've got some cool starter Pokemon. So we've got the Skelly Dirge from Gen 9, and the Samurott Hisuian, and a Gen 1 Venusaur with Snorlax, Aggron, and Ditto. Now, Mega Halucha here would be having an absolute field day, but unfortunately, we got rid of our Mega Halucha. So our best bet is to run Gengar. They're not likely to lead Ditto. If they do, then we'll need our Garchomp. Then it's going to be, how do we get rid of Snorlax and the others? And again, I think Corviknight is going to do quite well here. So the only lead we're... actually, if we're worried about that, then Garchomp should be our lead. Because Garchomp covers kind of the Venusaur and a bunch of the others. So I actually think Garchomp lead here. could do well. And then Gengar with the Focus Blast mid-game. And then Corviknight if we get walled behind a Snorlax. But let's see what they decide to lead with. It is aggro, so they could go Mega Aggro here and lose the Rock type. But Earthquake should do decent damage, and we've still got Corviknight in the back to cover the Steel type. So yeah, they Mega Evolve to lose the Force and try and wall us. But Garchomp's Earthquake is pretty good. I mean, 34%. We're 3-hit KOing here. They're gonna Iron Defense. Okay. So it's not sustainable if we hang in. We need to pivot. Do we need to pivot to Gengar? I think we pivot to Gengar to disable the Iron Defense, but we just also wall. I think we switch. I'm going to try something. I don't know if I've ever encountered a Mega Aggron who is going to be Iron Defensing. So do we try and stop them at 3? Or do we just do some big damage? I think do some big damage because they're just going to leave. Okay, so they got up to +4 in defense and saw our Gengar and thought none of that's okay. So they have immediately subbed out. Let's see. We are potentially going to get walled behind this Snorlax here because, of course, Focus Blast missed. So we now are expecting an Earthquake. So we will swap into our Corviknight. And this actually positions us to set up our own Iron Defensing. Because if Snorlax has what it usually has, which is, they're out now. Into Skelly Dirge. We're going to play a game of Round Robin. Because they're obviously going to use a Fire move on us now. And we need the Corviknight to cover the other thing, which needs the other thing to cover the other thing. So, let us play a game of Round Robin. Will-O-Wisp is dangerous here. And it might muck us up a little bit, but our whole game right now is banking on Gengar. Which is crazy. Gengar Focus Blast, 70%. So now Snorlax would come back in. Oh, aggro. Yeah, because we're burned. So that's not ideal. Yeah, even if we crit, we're still burned. So the question is, what do they do here? Do they try and Earthquake us? Or are they going to reset their Iron Defense? I'm not sure. They could do either. They could have covered for the switch, and they did. That is going to absolutely cook us. However, we've got to cover. Because they might try and Earthquake again. Because if they Iron Defense... Yeah, so if we disable the Earthquake, we've seen Iron Defense, which indicates Body Press. But they have Smart Strike. Okay, so they covered for that as well. So they are navigating this like crazy. So we no longer have an answer to their Skelly Dirge, which is not good. We got an answer to everything else if we can get rid of the Skelly Dirge, but I don't think we can. I don't want to risk the Corviknight, because Corviknight's our kind of answer to the Snorlax. And if we bring the Corviknight out, that might prompt the Skelly Dirge to come back out. What do they do here? Iron Defense? Press. This should proc Rough Skin. Oh, that's pretty good damage. We do take a bit of burn, so if they try that again, they're not in a great position. We get at least 10, 14%. So they could go for it. It does KO us, but also KOs them. And again, we still don't have an answer. Garchomp. So yeah, they're, again, that same 50-50 of disabling versus... if we just Focus Blasted as well, that would have solved the issue completely. So I think, yeah, we've mucked about too much on this, so let's just get out of here. I thought we had this game in the bag, but yeah, we just put it in the bin, unfortunately. So yeah, Mega Aggro. I think I'm too tempted to click the Disable button. But I also wasn't expecting Smart Strike, because if you're running Iron Defense, you're running Body Press, and then, yeah, they had Earthquake, which I guess is not too far-fetched. But I guess they could also be running Iron Head, but Smart Strike was their choice. And yeah, if we just Focus Blasted and connected, I just don't have that much hope in 70%. But maybe I should. Maybe I should give myself more opportunity. But we have our next opponent, CUCC, Sus Cuse. And they're running Mega Frostlass, King Gambit, Corviknight, Basculegion, Garchomp, and the Charizard. And it may not be Sun Charizard. So I think leading Garchomp covers most, and then Gengar covers the Corviknight, and Corviknight covers the King Gambit. That's my theory. Primarina's going to have a bit of a hard time. Hippowdon's going to have a hard time. And King Gambit's good against the Frostlass and the Basculegion, but I feel like we've got the Garchomp to cover for that, so that should be okay. And we've also got the Garchomp to cover for the Charizard. It's interesting whenever you see Basculegion and Garchomp, you have to wonder who has the Choice Scarf. I imagine their Corviknight has the leftovers. We're not really going up against many Gengars, so our Corviknight's Shed Shell is not really proving overly useful. Focus Blast has been, an option, just hasn't landed yet. And this might be an opportunity for default if they lead with their Frostlass. So let us see. They lead with Charizard, so our Garchomp lead is good. Ideally, we would Earthquake on the assumption that they're going to become the Dragon version. On that then, do we Outrage? If we Dragon, it's only the Corviknight that they could really swap into, but I think Rock Slide's option, a better option here. So they obviously retreat and do Basculegion, and we'll get to see how much a Rock Slide will do here. A little bit. They could Wave Crash us. Okay, so if they've got Charizard, we kind of don't want to throw away our Basculegion, our Garchomp. So let's reveal Corviknight. Corviknight should be able to soak a Wave Crash. They're obviously not going to be last respecting on turn 2. They've flip turned, so they could flip turn here back to Charizard, which could be bad. Maybe we should have brought out Hippowdon for Stealth Rock. Maybe that's what they were covering for with their turn 1. So what could they do here? Obviously big fire damage. Which which our Garchomp or Gengar could potentially eat. We need our Corviknight potentially for the King Gambit. Let's have a look. I can potentially throw away Gengar here. If we survive a hit from the Charizard, and then if we don't, we've got Garchomp. It's actually Sun Charizard. That is not what I was expecting. Because the other team just doesn't really make use of it, but I guess Sun Charizard's pretty cool. They went for big fire damage. It's KO'd our Gengar. Their Fire Blast is to save it. If we reveal Garchomp again, they're likely to go back to the Basculegion. So, let's just Outrage then. If they swap here, we can do a bit more damage to the Basculegion on the switch. Otherwise, we can do damage to the Charizard. We're not overly threatened. I was expecting if it's the other Charizard, a Dragon attack stab might cause issues for our Charizard, for our Garchomp. Okay, so they do have King Gambit. So Outrage here was really bad because we're now locked in doing 18% damage. Because you don't get to choose now, you're locked in for 2 to 3 turns. So this gives our opponent an opportunity to Sword Stance on the King Gambit, which is not ideal. So, yeah. Maybe the Citrus Berry. And the Sword Stance. And it's Defiant, because it didn't come out with Supreme Commander. So, Gengar would have been good to Destiny Bond something, anything. But if we'd left the Corviknight in, it would have got Fire Blasted unless they missed. And Fire Blast in the Sun's not ideal. Counter Cleave should... we are in Sucker Punch range now. So let's Roost, because that covers the Sucker Punch. And it also covers the Counter Cleave. We are not losing this. We are not winning this, unfortunately. So, let's... Yes, okay. This should do enough to KO. Alright, so... Assuming the Basculegion is Choice Scarfed, we might be okay here. So that was supposed to Sucker Punch then. But they thought we might have gone for another Roost, which would have failed on the Sucker Punch. So again, not last respecting, but our Garchomp's free to Outrage now, which is good. So yeah, we lose. Oh, this is bad for them actually, because now they've got... They're forced into Charizard, we're forced into Garchomp. We are Choice Scarf, so we can't look into Earthquake. That would be bad. We could look into Dragon Claw. Because they revealed... so they got the Sun. So they've revealed Fire Blast. So Fire Blast could very well miss. I think we do Outrage here, right? It's a bit of a gamble, but... if we Rock Slide and don't connect on the... It's a few hits on the... We lose the stat, so... we'll see what an Outrage does. Ooh, okay. And they've only got an Air Slash, which misses, so we will KO next turn. And we're kind of locked into Outrage, so... We'll KO the Garchomp. With our Garchomp, their Charizard. They'll now be forced to come back into Basculegion with last respects. So it really comes down to whether we survive the confusion. Unless we're 3 turns Outrage. I think we are 3 turns Outrage, which actually works in our benefit, because if we survive the last respects, the Rough Skin should be enough to KO them, if the Outrage doesn't. So we get our third turn of Outrage. It is enough to KO. Okay. If it wasn't, we were banking on surviving a 150 base power last respects and having the rough skin KO, but we navigated that somehow successfully. Yeah, the turn they thought the turn they should have sucker punched on King Gambit was the moment that cost them the game, unfortunately. Because yeah, if we roosted then, and they would have KO'd us, and then we would have gained nothing. So, that was tough. On to the next one. And we have our first Mega Gengar opponent. So they've got Archeliodon, Gyarados, Lucario. They are very Earthquake weak, except for Gyarados. So, as long as we lead Garchomp with Gengar, and we just need to somehow take out the Gyarados. And I think we do that with Corviknight, right? Yeah? Yeah. Are they going to lead Gyarados? If they lead Gyarados, that's bad. But they're likely to lead Blaziken and do some of that speed boosting baton pass that Blaziken is known for. You kind of need something really slow and powerful. Just lead with Blaziken, get the speed boost, or Esperanza is another variant of that. Protect and then baton pass. But they lead with Archeliodon, which is great for us because we went with the Garchomp. So they could set up their Stealth Rock, or they could swap to Gyarados. So let's see if they brought Gyarados. They may not have brought Gyarados, which is going to be a pretty clean sweep for us. They do have stamina, but unfortunately that's not going to help. They have Focus Energy, so they can crit more now, but unfortunately they're not surviving a second attack. So we're locked into Earthquake. May as well hang around and click the button. Watch Archeliodon go down. That is the easiest Archeliodon we've ever taken down. Now do we see Gyarados? Otherwise we just keep Earthquaking, and they're not in a good position, so they did not cover for our Garchomp Earthquake lead, which benefited us greatly, for sure. We have time for a few more. These are a few quick games when you take an early lead. I don't know what the Focus Energy was doing, because yeah, we're obviously capitalizing with the Garchomp. So Focus Energy was stalling out a bit of turns they didn't have. But we have our next opponent, and it is Weather. Weather with potentially electro-shotting Archeliodon. So I think in this scenario we do similar to what we did last time. We lead with our Gengar. We bring the Hippowdon to counter the Electro-Shot Archeliodon and the Rain. We've got, and then Garchomp should cover the rest, except for the triple axle Meowscarada. That's our only big concern that we have. Is King Gambit the better choice here? We've just got to get rid of the... I'm thinking let's actually bring King Gambit. King Gambit helps us cover for the Starmie and the Meowscarada. It's just going to be the others that might cause us a bit of problems. So this might not be the best play, but I think it gives us a decent chance, because yeah, I'm not seeing Primarina doing much here. Corviknight. Well, Corviknight was a good answer to Meowscarada when we had Brave Bird. We put Defog on for all the Aurora Veil and Grimmsnarl Reflect, but we just haven't seen any So it's their 3-win streak versus our 2-win streak. They're leading with Swampert though. That is majorly bold. I reckon they're going to straight up Earthquake us. So let us get our speed boost from Mega Evolve and Destiny Bond and try and catch them out. But they're just going to retreat. That is so unfortunate. And Pelipper comes out instead to set up the rain. So they might have been expecting a Hippowdon lead from us, not a Gengar. I thought they might have gone for it, but they did not. So now I'm expecting potentially them to flip turn back to their... yeah, so they'll flip turn back to Swampert now, so that it's Swift in the rain. We'll do our usual bit of damage. And there's the U-turn, which does not a lot of damage. Back into Mega Swampert. So they might have been just checking to see whether we brought weather. And they're pretty chuffed now, so they're going to lock into Earthquake for sure. But we indeed did bring Hippowdon. Hippopotamus. Hippotas is the unevolved Hippowdon. So they're questioning now whether they were just going to Earthquake or not and get a Destiny Ball. But none of that. They're going to Mega Evolve to get Swift, and there's not going to be any rain to swim in. So they could Wave Crash here actually, and that would do big damage. Yeah, big damage to Swampert. But they take a bit of recoil from that. We get a bit of leftovers. They can Wave Crash again. And they won't have Swift Swim. They're not likely to Earthquake, or are they going to Earthquake? We are kind of lowish enough that you could probably risk just Earthquaking. But if they Earthquake and it doesn't pay off, but we also lose our weather if we just let it go. So, unfortunately, I think King Gambit here covers for the Wave Crash. I mean, Gengar would have been just as good as well. Gengar might have been the pick then. Because they could Earthquake here. Oh, they Rain Dance to reset up the rain. Interesting. So yeah, unfortunately I think we've just lost our King Gambit. That is most unfortunate. Unless... we're going to have to... I don't know if he would Wave Crash a King Gambit in the rain. They might Earthquake here, but this forces them to consider Rain Dancing again. They did Earthquake. This gives us a free switch back into Gengar, and we can disable the Earthquake so they're forced to Wave Crash us, but let's actually just think about what we're going to do before we just go ahead and do it, because they're likely going to Rain Dance now and they've won the weather. So we can disable, and that gets rid of the Earthquake, which is what's vulnerable. We've got Gengar and King Gambit left, so if we disable their Earthquake, then they're forced to Wave Crash us, which I don't think puts us in any better position. I'm just not sure whether Shadow Ball would have sealed the deal. So, I like the idea of Destiny Bond. I don't know if Mega Gengar is the answer for it though, because obviously here, does speed control doesn't matter if you're Prankster. Say Mega Bennett. I think like Gengar Shadow Ball's been good. Focus Blast has been pretty dodgy. They take a bit of damage, but yeah, I mean they're locked out of Wave Crash. We do get Supreme Overlord though, so maybe a Supreme Overlord Sucker Punch is enough here, I don't know. Let's see. Oh, it is. Oh, King Gambit might be able to pull it back for us. Let's see. I don't know if they were expecting that. I sure wasn't. 45% is big damage. So Pelipper could come at now, or if they've got Starmie in the back. Well, if they've got Starmie in the back, that's not good for them. No, they wouldn't have Starmie in the back. They've got Artillery. Okay. Interesting. Do we need to Sword Stance, or are we good to go? I think we just Kowtow Cleave. Electroshock is going to do big damage. I'm not sure whether Swords Dancing and Sucker Punching is a better play then, but we live. So at least we can get some damage done here. 50% on a Kowtow. So it's going to be a bit of a stretch to get 50% on a Sucker Punch. But if we don't Sucker Punch, we lose. So maybe we crit, and maybe we make them really salty. Oh, we don't. We got close though. If we'd Sucker Punched that down, then we would have KO'd the Pelipper on a Sucker Punch because it didn't have much life left. So where could we have squeezed the Sword Stance in there? Nowhere? Because even if we Sword Stance and Sucker Punched from full, it wouldn't have been a KO. So, well played to them. I think we made some mistakes along the way. They are apparently MCS 06 Challenger, so they're obviously got a bit of experience under their belt. So we'll wrap it up there. We'll take the feedback back to Fable5 and get some more adjustments. So until then, if you're enjoying this type of content, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and I appreciate your support. Otherwise, until next time, take care and enjoy. Thank you.